Mike Fisher of CowboysHQ.com and 105.3 The Fan in Dallas, home of the Dallas Cowboys, with Armin and Levac on 104.5 The Team.
Fish, when I look at the Dez Bryant injury, I think it may be the second biggest injury, only second to Terrell Suggs' injury and its effect for the season.
Yeah, it's a monster, and there's all this speculation, and a lot of it's kind of crazy, and there's no way to pin down the details of this for certain. But this is for sure. There is no replacing Dez Bryant on this roster. Tony Romo, Tyron Smith, and Dez Bryant in whatever order. Those are the irreplaceable guys. Not only do they not grow on trees in the league or around the planet, they certainly don't grow on trees on this roster. There is no replacement for Desmond Bryant.
Mike Fisher at Fish Sports on Twitter. What's the latest on Dez Bryant? How long is he going to be out?
Well, I have to start this by saying what he told me, and he still hasn't spoken to the media outside of his conversation with me on this. And he says, I can't wait to get back, and his target is 4 weeks, to miss 4 weeks. Now, there's not much precedent for that, and it doesn't make much sense, and that would sure seem like rushing it. And if you rush this, the broken fifth metatarsal on your foot, which is that bone on the outside of your foot, on the top of your foot that goes to the pinky toe, if you rush that and re-break it, now we got real problems.
Is there anybody...
The Cowboys... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just saying, is there anybody in the Cowboys organization that can stop him from pressing forward? Because we know he's going to go Superman and try to do this.
Yeah, Jerry was on 105.3 The Fan this morning and said, hey, Dez is Superman when it comes to physical things. But then even Jerry puts a but there. Dez Bryant can't play if the training staff, medical staff, coaching staff, and front office doesn't let him play. He can't just grab his helmet and play because he's in the mood to. That won't fly. The organization is being optimistic when it says 6 weeks, and they admit that. If you go to CowboysHQ.com, you'll see the best story on this subject, CowboysHQ.com, where we break down the history of, well, pretty much everybody that's ever had this surgery or anything like it. And we have to be careful to not say, well, it's just like Kevin Durant, the NBA star who has some real problems with this now, or it's just like Brooke Lopez of the NBA. None of them, no two are alike. These are snowflakes. In the case of Brooke Lopez, they had to restructure the shape of his foot. In the case of Kevin Durant, they did a bone graft, I think with a piece of his hip, and put it in his foot. With Dez, so far anyway, this is just a screw in his foot. So I think it's a mistake to kind of use scare tactics to get people to click on your website. If you go to CowboysHQ.com, you'll see the reality is scary enough, because the reality is 4 or 6 or 8 or whatever without Dez Bryant.
Mike Fisher of 105.3 The Fan in Dallas and CowboysHQ.com. So how are the Cowboys moving forward and trying to fill the Dez void, if you will?
Yeah, and and I know, Yarman, you're probably right in the middle of trying to make sure people understand this. They're going to sign a wide receiver. That's the plan. And it'll be an Akeem Nicks, or who most people have heard of, or it'll be a Nick Toon, who some people have heard of. Austin Pettis from Boise State. This team likes Boise State guys. Clyde Gates was here for a brief time in the summer. A.J. Jenkins, former first-round pick, was here in the summer. All those guys are under the age of 27. None of those guys are famous old Reggie Wayne types, but none of them replace Dez. The guy they sign Austin Pettis. He's at the bottom of the Cowboy receiving totem pole. He doesn't move to the top and line up at X on Sunday against Philadelphia and be Dez. What they'll do is a game plan adjustment and move to a different chapter in the playbook, and that'll mean more Gavin Escobar on the field, the backup tight end, who is a really scary red zone threat, and you saw that on Sunday night in the win over the Giants. And then Lance Dunbar playing the role he does, and once again, the score dictating what happened Sunday when Lance Dunbar, the Giants never did figure him out, 8 catches for 70 yards, and a big part of that comeback win.
Let's start a crazy rumor right now, Fish. We've heard Randy Moss says he wants to come back and play.
Yeah, now listen, that's good radio. I was the host of this radio show, I might play that game. But the hat I'm wearing here, and listen, we did this in the last 2 days on 105.3 The Fan. Gavin Dawson, who's one of the best talk show hosts in the land, Armin, as you know,
Yep.
He starts out our visit by saying a lot of things have changed in 24 hours, and I get the argument all fired up by saying nothing's changed. There's nothing about Des Bryant that's changed in the last 24 hours, except he was originally going to get the surgery today, and maybe because of his aggressive nature, he got the surgery yesterday. So, I don't mean to shut down darn good topics, but the target here is not somebody that you sign because the audience has heard of him. The target here is, does he know the playbook? How fast can he gobble it up? If he doesn't know it, is there even the slightest possibility he could be activated this week? And, of course, because we're talking about the guy who's essentially a 6 wide receiver, he's got to play on a very cheap contract, and we go from there.
How much has Dez's absence affected your mindset on the belief of whether or not the Cowboys can win the division?
Well, I think it's huge, and there's such a positive afterglow around here because the Cowboys are 1-0, and they lead the division, and they got a division win, and everybody else in the East is 0-1, and that's all terrific. But if you look at, and I haven't looked at the odds yet even for this week, but if you ask an odds maker, what does this do to the Cowboys at Philadelphia, against Atlanta, at New Orleans, against New England? Those are the next 4 games. The winnability of those games without Des Bryant changes drastically. There's a distinct possibility that you're favored in only one of those games, the Atlanta game. So if you believe the odds makers there, that would have the Cowboys coming out of this group of first 5 games with a 2-3 record, and that would be the Dez effect right there. And by the way, Atlanta showed last night they're perfectly capable, just like almost every team in the NFC is. And if you do this just wrong, the Cowboys are 1-4.
And on top of that, we also have the Randy Gregory high ankle sprain. What have you heard about that, Fish?
Yeah, in fact, there's 2 other injuries that are worth noting, and one of them is Randy Gregory, who from day one has been really good here. The rookie from Nebraska, 17 sacks, senior season there, and he just does everything just right here. The characterization of him as, I think Peter King called him a turd. that's just wrong. Right. He smoked marijuana in college and missed meetings, but otherwise, there's just nothing wrong with Randy Gregory, and he's been really good, and he was really good in that game too. High ankle sprain, 4 weeks for him, and then Ron Leary, who in that offensive line room is the toughest guy in the room, the left guard, and good enough to have beaten out Lyle Collins, the prize rookie. People are talking about him, Leary missing 3 weeks. I bet you he misses 1 week with a groin. I bet you he doesn't play in Philadelphia, and then they have a decision to make. Probably the veteran Mackenzie Bernardo starts at left guard ahead of Lyle Collins. Those are your 2 other big injury issues, and those 2 things matter. That's a pass rusher for a defensive line in Randy Gregory that is going to get worn out by the Eagles' pace, as long as the Eagles get themselves a couple first downs. And that is an offensive line that kept Tony Romo virtually untouched in game 1, and it'll have to do the same thing again this week at Philly.
Fish, Cowboys at Philadelphia this weekend. You've been doing this a long time. Is there a vibe around the facility while you're covering the team this week where you feel like there is a little more on the line than a regular Sunday, despite it being just the second week of the year?
Oh, and I think even the DeMarco Murray thing adds another layer to this. The Cowboys love DeMarco Murray. They loved him then. They still love him now. He's best friends with Tony Romo. He's best friends with Jason Witten. He was road roommates with Des Bryant. They love him to death. But they don't love him at $9 million a year. And I said then, and I say now, Chip Kelly made a horrible mistake in thinking that he was getting better at running back by shipping out LaShawn McCoy, who I think is tied for the second best running back in the league, and replacing him with DeMarco Murray, a good player who had a great year. Not a great player who had a great year, a good player who had a great year. They're breaking the system in Philadelphia by paying good players great money, and the Cowboys had to bite the bullet, and wisely did, to not do the same thing. And so the DeMarco factor, and he was almost no factor last night. Again, he got the 2 touchdowns, and that's grand. But $9 million for, 8 carries and 9 yards, and rotating with 2 other running backs that are the same as him, also good. Sproles is also a good NFL player. Matthews also a good NFL player. It's weird that the Cowboys and the Cowboys and the Eagles will do some of the same things at running back and probably end up with some of the same productivity, but one of those teams pays one of those guys $9 million.
Mike Fisher, Cowboys Insider at 105.3 The Fan in Dallas, at Fish Sports on Twitter, CowboysHQ.com with the insight. Check out the details on the injury to Dez Bryant and how it can affect him going forward at CowboysHQ.com. Fish, thanks for your time today, brother.
Thanks, boys.